Hey everybody, DJ here. I was going to make a video, but I didn't want to do a huge production, so it might be a little boring as it's just spoken word. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's been happening. And I'm just going to read what I jotted down on my notepad. Okay, so it's been a year since I started documenting my own personal interactions with spirit, and about 2 years documenting the team and our investigations. I started out as a greenhorn without anyone to teach me the ways. I started watching YouTube channels and some television shows on what I thought were the ways to handle investigations, and that got me into trouble real quick. And the place that I got into trouble was the Hinsdale house in New York. I was rude to a spirit, whether I knew it or not, and I challenged him and called him out. And for a long time, I wouldn't even mention his name once finding out who he was. This spirit was a mafia hitman in the Cattaraugus County area, and he was a rival to a gang here in my own hometown, 2 hours apart from each other. I learned after running my shop for a couple years that there were 2 spirits in there, and their names are Lewis Crenshaw and Luke Jasper Anot. These 2 guys were a part of the mafia in the 30s, and they ran my town. There are others, and they stay in various buildings around the town. I have met a couple, but I haven't met them all. But the ones that I have met, they were with the help of my friend and medium, Rick. I grew a friendship with these guys, Lewis and Jasper, and they were always willing to come through my sessions and speak with me. As the months went on, they started following me everywhere. They even helped get rid of the nasty spirit from the Hinsdale house. His name was Bruce. I was told that this guy followed me for a long time, and after visiting there, I knew it, but I didn't know it was him or where he actually came from. He would plant horrible images in my mind and make me think terrible things that in all my years I have never thought of. He would also plant images in my head of what he wanted to do to me. So if I was like leaning over the sink brushing my teeth, I would get an image of a hand smashing my teeth on the porcelain, a bloody mess. If I was at the shop working on a heat press, I would get the image of him smashing it down on my hands and burning me. All sorts of shit. Where was I? Oh, okay, I knew these weren't my own thoughts, but there was nothing I could do to stop them. After months of talking with my new spirit friends and investigations on the horizon, we stumbled upon a place that was just across the street from my shop. We investigated a couple times, and then something strange happened. Evidence through the ghost box kept insinuating that we go back and that there was proof of something buried in the basement. Gold and diamonds. I spoke to the owner about the evidence, and she was excited to hear it and asked me to come back. So I stopped down there one day to talk to Mr. B in the basement, and I just wanted to get a feel for it before I got the team together again. Mr. B, he was a mafia boss in the 30s. He was the boss of Lewis and Jasper. I told her before we came back as a team, I wanted Rick to come down alone with me to concentrate on what we needed to do. So one night, him and I went to the shop as she was closing. Locked the doors, shut out the lights, and Rick said that this is very strange. There are no other spirits in this place, only spirit guides, meaning my spirit guide, the owner's spirit guide, and the girl who works for her. The investigation to that point was just a lure. There was no gold. There was no diamonds. Nothing was buried in the basement. They just wanted us all in this one place at this time. Mr. B told the owner that he was her great-great-uncle and that he was in fact a mob boss of the 30s, and that in another lifetime she was in his gang. Her worker, she was once a dancer, and that she needed to stop smoking or she would have serious problems in her 40s. Then it was my turn. He told me about the spirit at Hinsdale, and that I offended him, and his name was Bruce, and he was a son of a bitch. And prior speaking to Mr. B, Rick told me that my guide Carol, who was an angel, had a tattered and burnt wing. Mr. B went on to tell Rick that he, Carol, Lewis, and Jasper fought this guy in my shop as he was following me around, and that they handled the situation and got rid of him, but it was a hell of a fight. Mr. B also told us that he was the man in life who killed him to begin with, and that when he shot him, he fell into a mirror and it shattered all around him, and now his spirit uses mirrors to travel. I had another run-in with him, this Bruce guy, months later, but with the help of my friends and what I knew, I was able to stand up for myself, knowing and recognizing those feelings as they manifested in me again. And I believe I got rid of them on my own that time, and if I didn't, they didn't tell me that they helped. The guys followed me everywhere, even to investigations, and other mediums and psychics saw them, and pointed them out to me. They have helped me out in so many situations, and they have helped my friends with situations when I call upon them, and sessions prove this to be true. But lately something has changed in the air, and what I sense. My friend Kathy, she has also noticed it, as she has grown a relationship with these guys too. I did a few sessions that were a little off. They came through, but not strong at all. And the last 2 sessions that were focused on them, it yielded next to nothing in response. So Kathy and I spoke about it, and she contacted Janet, who is now a new addition as a psychic on our team. She asked if they were possibly guides to someone else. Good thought, so I did a session, and I got no replies. A few days passed, and the topic came up again, and I mentioned that I sensed that they have possibly moved up, meaning that their vibration level has changed. And she said that she was going to say that same exact thing, but she sensed that it was my level that changed, and I didn't need them around anymore. That kind of moved me a little bit, because as strange as it sounds, these guys have become a part of me, and in one of my last few sessions where they did come through strong, they said that very same thing, that they were a part of me or I was a part of them. So I turned on my spirit box, and I tried to contact them. I didn't hear them at all. Janet said that she heard they will be back, and to ask the others about them. The others I asked. She said my guides, so I did just that. I turned on the matrix, and guess what happened? It wouldn't turn on. I kept hitting the icon, and the app wouldn't start no matter how I hit it. But any other icon on that pad started the app. So I used my kill apps just to see if it was running in the background, and there was nothing there. There wasn't anything running on my phone. So I shut down my phone, started it up and tried again. The icon wouldn't open the app. I bet you 5 minutes went by before I got it to start. And when I got it to start, the voices loaded up. It said 3 words, and those 3 words just kept repeating over and over, but it made no sense. It was stuck. So I shut the phone down again. I waited, and I concentrated on contacting my guide Carol. I hit the icon, and it started right up. I asked her where they were and if they had left me, and I asked twice because I didn't get an answer the first time. Now, if you know the Matrix app, the only woman voice you ever hear on that, and you hear on my channel, is some old woman, and she repeats like the same 2 or 3 words all the time. I hardly ever annotate it because it doesn't mean anything. But the voice that came through this time was different. It was clear as day, and it was to the point, and that's how I always sense Carol. I always say that when she is near, I feel like I have to be on my best behavior. This voice answered me immediately. Well, the second time immediately. And what it said was transitioning. When I asked of Lewis and Jasper, I said I would like them to stay around. I don't want them to go. The next response I got was, "It's in God's hands." And that was pretty amazing to hear from the Matrix app. This is an app that I've always said I feel it was made for me to speak to these guys, and those guys only. I don't use it anywhere else. Everything was just so clear when I spoke to them, so when that clarity stopped, I was pretty concerned. So there is a chance they come back, and I hope they do. The shop is theirs to stay, and I've always said that. If this means I no longer get to speak with them, I'll be sad, but at the same time, very glad for them to have made the choice to move on. So, who was helping who? I wonder. After all, these guys were a part of an organization that throughout history taught us that they did some pretty horrible things to people. But I never once judged them for that. I treated them with respect, and I allowed them to come forward to form a relationship if they so chose, and they did just that. I think this is just the first phase for myself, starting out as an investigator who knew nothing, just trying to get a response, either good or bad, it didn't matter, to a guy who decided to explore it a little further and begin doing private sessions to help myself understand, the investigative side. And as for Lewis and Jasper, maybe they were there to help me on that path, or maybe I was sent to help them continue their journey. Either way, I hope very much that I have not heard the last from Lewis Crenshaw and Jasper Anot. But if fate has another chapter for them, and it's not with me, I guess I will look a little confused in my upcoming videos, and maybe unsure of what to do next. But stick with me, I am sure something will happen all on its own. This field has brought me much joy, a little fear, and a bunch of understanding of the afterlife and in myself. This is 100% spirit communication.